Captain Ryland's shuttle descended slowly through the violet clouds of planet Illyria 7. From above, the world looked like a glowing jewel, shimmering rivers, floating islands, and forests of trees with silver leaves that reflected the sun's light in millions of colors. Ryland's heart beat faster. He had seen many planets, but none like this. The signal that brought him here had been strange, almost like a human voice calling for help. But it came from a place humans had never mapped. The shuttle touched down on a smooth platform near a city that floated above a vast canyon. Tall, spires of crystal reflected the sun in dazzling patterns. Ryland stepped out in his gray-blue uniform, the metal of his boots clicking against the landing pad. He adjusted his helmet, watching as small alien figures moved about the city. Illyrians were tall, graceful, and had skin that shimmered slightly in the sunlight. Their eyes were large, bright, and curious. Some floated a few inches above the ground, their movements fluid and light. Ryland checked his communicator. "Command, I've landed the city. It's unlike anything we've seen." Static filled the line for a moment before a calm voice replied, "Proceed with caution, Captain. Keep your focus. We don't know their intentions yet." Ryland nodded to himself even though no one could see him. He had faced dangerous worlds before. This one would be no different, except for the strange feeling in his chest. Something told him Illyria 7 was special. He walked toward the city, the platform giving way to a smooth bridge of glowing energy. The air smelled fresh, with a hint of flowers he couldn't identify. Sounds of laughter and music echoed from the streets below. As he descended, he noticed Lyra, a young Illyrian explorer, moving among the crowd. She had silver hair that floated around her shoulders like liquid metal. Her eyes caught his immediately, wide with amusement and mischief. Without warning, Lyra slipped past him, laughing. She moved faster than any human could, weaving through the crowd with ease. Ryland stumbled slightly as he tried to follow. "Hey, wait," he called, but she turned her head and giggled again. Her laughter was musical, echoing against the crystalline buildings. Ryland felt a strange mix of frustration and fascination. She was bold, playful, and utterly alien, yet something about her seemed welcoming. Lyra stopped at the edge of a plaza, her hands on her hips. "You're not from here," she said, her voice light but curious. "Humans are rare on Illyria 7. Why are you here?" Ryland removed his helmet. "Captain Ryland, I'm here to investigate a signal. We received something unusual. It sounded like a call for help." He studied her face. She didn't seem hostile. Instead, her expression was curious, almost excited. Lyra tilted her head. "A call for help, you say? Humans can hear it, but most Illyrians ignore it. Maybe you're different." Her eyes sparkled. "Come with me. If you want answers, you'll need to see the city from inside, not just from the bridge." Ryland hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Lead the way." She moved like water, guiding him through narrow streets, glowing markets, and floating plazas. Illyrians were selling strange fruits that hovered above their palms, textiles that shifted colors, and tools that bent light to create small illusions. Ryland's eyes widened at the creativity on display. Every corner held something new, something impossible by human standards, and yet humans could adapt. They could think differently, plan in unexpected ways, and solve problems that Illyrians would never imagine. Lyra stopped suddenly. "Watch this." With a flick of her hand, a small door appeared in the side of a building, glowing faintly. She slipped through it, motioning for Ryland to follow. Inside was a room full of maps, holographic displays, and devices he didn't recognize. This was clearly a hub of Illyrian exploration. Ryland's mind raced. "All this, you're mapping the planet?" Lyra smiled. "Not just mapping. We explore, we learn. We find the hidden places humans call impossible." She leaned closer. "But I have a feeling you humans are different. You might find things we overlook." Ryland smiled faintly. "I guess we have to prove it then." They spent the next few hours navigating the hub, studying holograms of the planet. Lyra explained the floating cities, the shifting rivers, and the strange creatures that lived in Illyria 7's forests. Rylan took notes, but his attention kept drifting to her. She was curious, clever, and fearless. Most humans would have been intimidated by this alien world, but she treated him like an equal dot. Suddenly, the building shook. A deep rumble echoed through the city. Lyra's eyes widened. "That's not normal." Rylan rushed to the window. Across the sky, a shadow moved fast, something large, metallic, and threatening. It wasn't Illyrian. It looked like a ship. And it was heading straight for the city. Rylan felt a surge of adrenaline. "Lyra, what is that?" She grabbed his arm. "I don't know, but we need to warn the city. Come on." Together they raced through the hub and into the streets. Lyra's speed amazed him. She navigated the floating walkways effortlessly. Rylan struggled to keep up, but he relied on human instincts, judging distances, predicting movements, and planning the quickest route. By the time they reached the city center, Illyrians were looking up, their usual calm replaced by fear. The shadow in the sky grew larger. Rylan could see the edges of the ship now, jagged and alien, unlike anything in Illyria 7. The Illyrians froze, unsure what to do. But Rylan stepped forward. "We have to organize. Humans can plan, adapt, and fight when we need to. Follow my lead." Lyra's eyes widened. Then she smiled, a mix of excitement and trust. "Let's show them what humans can do." As the shadow ship descended, Rylan felt something he had not felt in a long time. Purpose, challenge, and the thrill of discovery. Illyria 7 was beautiful, strange, and dangerous, and he was ready. For the first time on this alien world, Rylan felt truly alive. The next morning, Illyria 7 shone under two suns. Light danced across the floating cities, glinting off silver-leaf trees and glassy spires. Captain Rylan felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. The shadow ship had vanished after a strange display of energy in the sky, but the threat it represented lingered in his mind. Illyrians were strong, clever, and capable, but even their calm confidence could not hide concern. Lyra appeared outside his temporary quarters, her silver hair glinting in the sunlight. "Good morning, human," she said, grinning. "Ready for your first real challenge here?" Rylan frowned. "Challenge? I've handled hostile planets and alien threats before. What kind of challenge?" She giggled, her eyes twinkling. "Not what you think. The crystalline labyrinth awaits. It's a test, for outsiders. For Illyrians, it is training. For you, it is survival, skill, and wit." He raised an eyebrow. "And you want me to go alone?" Lyra shook her head. "No, I'll go with you. But you'll need to use your human mind. Illyrians have our own ways of thinking. The labyrinth doesn't just test strength, it tests creativity, adaptability, and courage." Rylan nodded. He had faced dangerous situations before, but the idea of a labyrinth designed to test every human skill intrigued him. "Lead the way." They flew over the city in a small anti-gravity transport, heading toward the crystalline labyrinth, which rose like a mountain of glass and light. Its surface shimmered with colors that changed as they approached, reflecting the sun's rays. The entrance was a narrow archway of glowing crystal. Rylan felt a shiver of anticipation as he stepped forward. "Rules are simple," Lyra explained. "The labyrinth reacts to those who enter. It changes. It will test your problem-solving, your courage, and your instincts. Some who fail never return. But I have faith in you, human. You might surprise even the elders." Rylan glanced at her. "Pressure, huh?" Lyra laughed. "Just a little. Follow me." The moment they stepped inside, the labyrinth shifted. Walls of clear crystal rose and fell. Corridors twisted and staircases appeared where there had been none. Lights danced across surfaces, creating illusions that seemed almost alive. Rylan's mind raced. The structure seemed impossible, but he noticed patterns, shapes, reflections, and rhythms. Humans had a skill the Illyrians lacked. They could think differently, See solutions from unexpected angles. Lyra floated above him, smiling. See that door? She said, pointing to a glowing panel. Most Illyrians would try to force it open. What do you see? Rylan studied the panel. Symbols shifted constantly, forming sequences he recognized from Earth's logic puzzles. It's a code, not strength. It's logic. The solution is in the pattern, not in brute force. Lyra's eyes widened in surprise and admiration. Interesting. Humans really do see differently. She gestured, and the door opened smoothly as Rylan traced the correct sequence. They advanced through twisting corridors and mirrored halls. Each challenge required a mix of intelligence, quick reflexes, and courage. Some passages were dark, with strange sounds echoing from unknown corners. Others were filled with floating platforms over deep chasms, testing balance and trust. At every step, Rylan noticed Lyra's playful teasing. Careful, she said as he jumped across a glowing platform, or I'll leave you behind. Rylan grinned. I don't think you can keep up either. Lyra laughed, darting forward with incredible speed. But she paused and waited for him. True. You're fast for a human. Not slow, just different. Hours passed. Rylan's endurance was tested, but his human adaptability shone. Where the labyrinth tried to confuse him, he improvised. Where it tried to trap him, he analyzed and predicted its moves. And every time, Lyra's admiration grew. Illyrians were clever, but Rylan's creativity and courage. The elders of Illyria 7 gathered inside the Hall of Echoes, a great chamber where crystal pillars reached toward the ceiling like frozen lightning. Light moved through the crystals, creating soft patterns across the walls. Captain Rylan stood, in the center, his human uniform plain compared to the flowing garments of the Illyrians. Beside him floated Lyra, who looked unusually serious. One of the elders, tall with golden eyes, spoke first. Human, you entered the crystalline labyrinth and emerged with success. Few outsiders have done so. This proves you are adaptable. His voice was calm but carried great weight. Rylan nodded politely. I only did what any human would, observe, learn, and try again when things go wrong. Another elder leaned forward. Then perhaps you are ready to know the truth. The signal that drew you here was no accident. Illyria 7 has been calling for help. Rylan's jaw tightened. Help? From humans? The elder's eyes glowed faintly. Yes. Long ago, Illyrians traveled across the stars exploring. But we are not warriors. We are seekers, builders, dreamers. A shadow fleet has risen in the galaxy. They do not create. They take, destroy, and enslave. They are called the Vorinth. The word echoed through the hall. Lyra lowered her gaze, her usual playful spark dimmed. The Vorinth grow stronger with each world they conquer. They do not understand art, knowledge, or life. They understand only control. And now, they have turned their eyes toward Illyria 7. Rylan felt the weight of her words. He thought back to the dark shadow ship he had seen above the city. His instincts had been right. It was a scout, a warning. So that's why I'm here, he said slowly. You need allies. The elder nodded. We need more than allies. We need those who can do what we cannot. We Illyrians. We lack the hunger to fight. We prefer harmony. But humans fight when they must. You turn weakness into strength. That is why the labyrinth opened for you. Rylan glanced at Lyra. Her silver eyes met his. For once there was no teasing in them, only sincerity. You see, Rylan, she said softly. We called for help not because we wanted soldiers, but because we needed humans. Your kind has something unique. Creativity. Courage. The Vorinth fear that. For a moment, silence filled the hall. Rylan thought of Earth, of human history. Wars, struggles, survival through impossible odds. Yes, humanity had many flaws. But when danger came, they stood together. They improvised. They refused to give up. Maybe that was why the Illyrians had reached out. Finally, he spoke. then you'll have it. Humanity may be small compared to the Vorinth, but we won't stand by while others are enslaved. If your people are willing to trust us, we'll fight beside you." A murmur of approval moved through the elders. Lyra smiled again, the playful spark slowly returning. "I told them you'd say that," she whispered. Rylan smirked. "You knew me for less than 2 days and already predicted I'd volunteer for an interstellar war." Lyra grinned. "Humans are stubborn. That much I've learned." The elders ended the meeting with a promise. They would prepare Illyria's defenses, and they would share knowledge with humanity. In return, Rylan would act as a bridge between their species, carrying messages and training. The alliance was small, fragile, but it was real. That evening, Lyra led Rylan to the edge of the floating city. From there, they could see the vast canyon glowing with rivers of light. The night sky above shimmered with 2 moons. "It is beautiful," Rylan admitted. Lyra tilted her head. "You see beauty even when danger waits. That is human strength too. But Rylan..." She grew quiet. "You should know the Vorinth are not like other enemies. They consume everything. Their ships drain energy from stars. Their machines crush planets. If they come in full force, even with humans, we may not win." Rylan looked out at the horizon, determination settling in his chest. "Then we make sure they don't come in full force. Humans have fought bigger foes before. We don't win because we're the strongest. We win because we refuse to lose." Lyra studied him, then laughed softly. "Refuse to lose. Yes, that sounds like a human thing to say." They spent the next day preparing. Illyrian engineers showed Rylan their technology: energy shields, crystal-based power, and living machines that could repair themselves. Rylan shared stories of human tactics: ambushes, traps, misdirection. Illyrians were fascinated. They had never thought of using trickery or unpredictability in battle. To them, such methods were chaotic. To humans, they were survival. At one point, Lyra asked him, "So if the Vorinth attacked this city, what would you do?" Rylan crouched beside a map of Illyria's floating platforms. "First, I'd never fight them head-on. That's suicide. I'd use the terrain, set traps here, here, and here, force them into narrow corridors, hit them where they're weakest, and when they think they've won, we strike from behind." Lyra's eyes widened with excitement. "That's clever." "Dangerous but clever. Illyrians would never think that way, but maybe that's exactly what we need." Rylan stood. "Exactly. You have the technology. We have the creativity. Together, we have a chance." That night, alarms echoed across the city. Red lights flashed against the crystal towers. Lyra rushed to the balcony, her silver hair streaming behind her. In the distance, the dark shape of another Vorinth ship pierced the sky. Rylan's heart pounded. It wasn't the same scout ship. This one was larger, sharper, with weapons glowing along its hull. Illyrians gasped and froze in fear. Lyra turned to him. "Rylan, this is no scout. This is an attack." Rylan clenched his fists. The time for planning was over. Then let's show them what humans can do. As the Vorinth ship descended, casting its shadow across the city, Rylan stood firm. The Illyrians might fear, but he felt something different: resolve. Humanity had faced extinction countless times and survived. Now it was time to prove, not just to Illyria but to the galaxy, that humans were more than survivors. The Vorinth ship loomed above Illyria 7, like a black blade cutting through the sky. Its hull was jagged, pulsing with sickly green light. Sirens wailed across the floating city as Illyrians rushed to shelters. Their calm nature had always been their strength, but in this moment, fear spread through them like fire. Captain Rylan stood on the balcony of the crystal tower, fists clenched. "They're testing your defenses," he muttered. "This isn't their full fleet, just a probe to see how you respond." Lyra floated beside him, her silver eyes sharp. "If they sense weakness, they'll come in greater numbers." Rylan turned to her. Then we can't show weakness, we hit back hard. Lyra frowned. Illyrians don't fight that way, we defend, we endure, You hide, Ryland finished bluntly. That won't work with the Vorinth. They'll crush you unless you show them humans and Illyrians together are dangerous prey. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Lyra laughed suddenly, her playful spark returning despite the fear outside. Dangerous prey. That does sound like you, human. She tapped his chest lightly. Then tell me, Captain Ryland, what's your plan? Ryland studied the city's structure. Platforms floated at different heights linked by energy bridges. Your city is full of traps if you think like a human. We'll use the bridges to funnel them. We'll make them think we're retreating, then cut them off. Surprise is our greatest weapon. Lyra's eyes gleamed. Chaos. Clever chaos. I like it. Together they rushed to the command hub where Illyrian elders gathered in worry. Ryland slammed his hands onto the glowing map table. If you stay defensive, you'll lose. Let me lead a strike team. Use your shields to draw them in, but secretly weaken one section here. He pointed to a bridge near the canyon's edge. When they move through, collapse it. Then we strike from above and below. The elders looked uneasy. One whispered, too risky, too unpredictable. Ryland's voice grew firm. Humans survive by doing the impossible. If you want to survive, trust us. Trust me. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Lyra stepped forward. I trust him. The elders exchanged glances. Finally, one nodded. Very well. Do as you suggest, human. As night fell, the Vorinth ship descended lower. Dark craft detached from its hull, swarming like insects toward the city. Their weapons burned green trails across the sky. Illyrian. Shields shimmered as they absorbed the first barrage. Ryland stood on a platform, with a small team of Illyrians, watching the enemy advance. Lyra floated at his side, her silver hair glowing faintly in the starlight. Nervous? She teased. Always, Ryland said with a grin. But nervous means alive. Lyra laughed softly. You humans make even fear sound like courage. The first wave of Vorinth landed on the energy bridge. Just as Ryland had predicted, they rushed forward in formation. Hold, he ordered. The Illyrians hesitated, unused to war, but Lyra raised her hand to steady them. Trust him. The enemy reached the middle of the bridge. Ryland gave a sharp gesture. The Illyrian engineers triggered the collapse. The bridge shattered, glowing shards falling into the canyon below. Dozens of Vorinth fell screaming into the depths. The rest froze in confusion. Ryland shouted, Now! From above, Illyrians unleashed energy blasts. From below, hidden platforms rose with human-designed traps, nets of crystal and bursts of blinding light. The Vorinth stumbled, disoriented. Ryland charged forward, his plasma rifle blazing. He moved fast, ducking, rolling, firing with precision. Lyra moved beside him like flowing water, striking with beams of focused light. She laughed as she fought, her joy in battle shocking the Illyrians who watched. See, Captain? Chaos can be fun. Ryland grinned despite the danger. Glad you're enjoying yourself, Heba. The peace on Illyria 7 lasted only a few short days. The Vorinth ship that had fled returned with more. This time an entire fleet appeared in the skies. Black hulls blocked out the suns, their jagged shapes stretching across the horizon like a storm. The shadow of their arrival made the floating city tremble. From the command tower, Captain Ryland studied the incoming enemy. This is it, he said grimly. They're not testing us anymore, they've come to take the planet. Lyra stood beside him, her silver hair glowing under the crystal lights. Her voice was calm, but steady. Illyria has never faced a war. Our people, they are afraid. Ryland nodded. Then we give them hope. Fear is normal, but courage is choosing to fight anyway. The elders turned to him. Their faces were tense, uncertain. One of them asked, Human, what would you have us do? Ryland took a deep breath. We fight smart. The Vorinth are strong, but predictable. They expect you to defend your cities directly. We won't. Instead, we'll lure them into the canyons, into the floating platforms, where their numbers mean nothing. We'll split them apart, confuse them, and strike where it hurts. The elders hesitated, but Lyra stepped forward, her voice ringing clear. Trust him. I've seen how humans fight. He can lead us. At last, the elders gave their approval. Rylan began preparing the defense dot. When the Vorinth fleet descended, the skies lit up with fire. Their beams cut through the air, scorching platforms and shattering bridges. Illyrians screamed and scattered, but Rylan's voice carried through the comms. Hold your positions. Follow the plan. Dozens of Illyrian ships rose into the air. Sleek and silver, they darted through the clouds like birds of light, but instead of charging the Vorinth directly, they broke apart into small squads, each following Rylan's instructions, dot from the ground. Rylan led a team of Illyrians across the narrow platforms of the city. Keep moving, he ordered. Don't. Give them a target. The first wave of Vorinth fighters swooped down. Their weapons blazed green, striking the platforms. Rylan ducked behind a crystal wall, then shouted, Now! Illyrian engineers triggered the traps they had prepared. Energy nets snapped into place, capturing several fighters mid-air. Crystal cannons hidden in the walls fired beams that pierced enemy hulls. The Vorinth ships exploded in bursts of fire, raining debris into the canyon below. Cheers erupted from the Illyrian fighters. For the first time, they saw the Vorinth bleed. But the enemy was far from defeated. Larger warships descended, releasing squads of armored soldiers onto the platforms. They marched in tight formation, their heavy steps shaking the ground. Rylan gritted his teeth. Here they come. Stay close. Lyra floated beside him, her hands glowing with Illyrian energy. She laughed despite the danger. You humans really do enjoy impossible battles, don't you? Rylan smirked. We don't enjoy them, we just don't run from them. The Vorinth soldiers charged. Their armor gleamed black, their weapons humming with deadly light. Rylan fired his plasma rifle, dropping the first enemy in line. Illyrians unleashed beams of crystal energy, striking down others. The battle raged. Across the narrow walkways, Rylan moved with practiced precision. He ducked, rolled, and fired in bursts, every shot placed with care. Lyra spun through the air, her laughter echoing as she struck enemies with dazzling beams. Together they moved like a single unit, his discipline and her grace weaving into a deadly rhythm. The Illyrians, inspired by their courage, fought harder than ever before. No longer did they hide or hesitate. They shouted war cries, followed Rylan's commands, and pressed forward. After hours of fighting, smoke filled the sky. Entire sections of the city were burning, but the Vorinth advance had slowed. Rylan saw his chance. He climbed onto a damaged platform and shouted across the comms, All units, focus fire on the lead ship. Bring it down. Dozens of Illyrian cannons turned toward the largest Vorinth vessel. Bright beams of crystal energy struck its hull. The ship shook, green fire leaking from its engines. Vorinth fighters tried to shield it, but Rylan's teams cut through them with traps and crossfire. Finally, with a deafening roar, the massive ship exploded in the sky. The shockwave rattled the floating city, but cheers echoed louder than fear. The Vorinth fleet faltered. Their formation broke. They're retreating, Lyra shouted, her eyes wide with triumph. Rylan lowered his rifle, chest heaving. Not retreating, regrouping. They'll be back. But for now, the battle was theirs. The Vorinth ships pulled back, vanishing into the clouds. Illyrians filled the streets, cheering and embracing each other. For the first time in their history, they had fought as warriors, and won. That night, the city held a gathering unlike any before. Illyrians lit crystal lanterns across the platforms. Music filled the air, soft and hopeful. Children laughed as they watched glowing creatures dance in the sky. Rylan stood at the edge of the plaza, looking out at the stars. He knew this was only the beginning. The Vorinth would not stop until Illyria 7 was theirs. Or destroyed. Lyra appeared beside him, smiling. You look too serious, Captain. We won today. You should celebrate. Rylan shook his head. I don't celebrate until the war is over. But I'll admit, your people fought better than I expected. Lyra nudged him playfully. Because you showed them how. You gave them courage. That is the gift of humans. Rylan gave a small smile. Maybe. Or maybe they had it all along. They just needed a reason. She laughed softly. Then perhaps, you are that reason. The music swelled around them. Illyrians danced in circles of light, their silver hair shimmering like starlight. For a brief moment, there was peace. Rylan allowed himself to breathe, to enjoy the sight, but deep inside, he knew the greatest battle was still to come. The Vorinth had only begun their assault. Next time they would arrive with full force, and when that day came, humanity and Illyria would stand together, or fall together. Rylan clenched his fists. We'll be ready, he whispered to himself. Beside him, Lyra smiled knowingly. Yes, we will. And for the first time, Rylan believed it. The days after the first great battle passed quickly. Illyria 7 was repairing its floating platforms, rebuilding bridges and strengthening defenses. But Captain Rylan knew time was short. The Vorinth fleet had only pulled back to prepare for something far worse. One evening, as he stood with Lyra on a high platform, the warning alarms began to sound. The skies darkened again, but this time it was not a single fleet. Hundreds of Vorinth ships filled the heavens, stretching farther than the eye could see. Their leader had come, the warlord known as Karzul, who commanded entire sectors of space. Lyra's face grew pale. That is an army meant to crush empires. We cannot match that. Rylan's jaw tightened. Then we don't try to match them. We outthink them. The Illyrian council gathered in haste. The elders trembled as they saw the size of the Vorinth armada. This is hopeless, one whispered. We will be destroyed. Rylan slammed his hand against the table. No, you are not destroyed unless you surrender. Listen, Karzul wants Illyria because of your energy crystals. He won't destroy the planet outright. That gives us an advantage. He has rules. We don't. Lyra nodded firmly. He is right. We must make them fight on our terms, not theirs. With no other choice, the council gave full command to Rylan. As the armada closed in, Rylan gathered Illyrian warriors, engineers, and civilians. His voice carried across the comms, calm and strong. I know you are afraid. I am afraid too. But fear means you care for what you are fighting for. The Vorinth think we are weak. They think humans and Illyrians will kneel before their power. Today we show them they are wrong. Today we fight for every child, every family, every future that deserves freedom. We don't fight because we think we can win. We fight because we refuse to lose. His words spread like fire. Illyrians lifted their heads. Fear still lingered, but courage now burned beside it. When the battle began, the skies became chaos. Illyrian ships darted through the clouds, weaving between Vorinth warships. Explosions shook the air, sending fire and smoke through the floating city. Rylan's strategy unfolded. Instead of facing the fleet head-on, he lured pieces of it into traps. Massive crystal platforms were released, crashing into enemy ships. Energy nets dragged fighters into the canyons. Illyrian engineers overloaded their own reactors, turning dying platforms into bombs that tore Vorinth vessels apart. But the enemy was endless. For every ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to arrive. Rylan fought on the front lines, plasma rifle blazing. Lyra floated beside him, her hands glowing with raw energy. Together, they rallied the fighters again and again. Then the largest Vorinth ship descended, the flagship of warlord Karzul. Its size dwarfed every Illyrian vessel. Cannons the size of towers unleashed fire that burned entire districts of the city. Rylan stared up at it. That's the head of the snake, he muttered. Cut it off and the body dies. Lyra's eyes widened. You mean to attack Karzul himself? Yes, Rylan said. He won't expect it. And if we can take him down, the rest will break. With a small team of Illyrian pilots, Rylan launched a daring assault. Their ships dodged enemy fire, weaving through explosions until they reached the flagship. Ryland's craft slammed into its docking bay, sliding to a stop. He and Lyra jumped out, weapons ready. Inside, the corridors were dark and filled with green light. Vorinth soldiers charged, but Ryland's team fought fiercely, cutting through until they reached the command chamber. There, towering above them, stood Karzul. His armor was jagged black, his eyes blurry.